Okay, sorry for that. Good afternoon, everybody. As said, my name is Konstantin Wolff. I'm the CMO and co-founder of a company called payleven. I'm going to take you in a second through what we do to give you a little demo of our product. But sort of the headline theme is what we do is card acceptance via smartphone and tablet. So card acceptance in a way it hasn't been done before, which is the first step for us to a longer journey to which I come in the presentation. A bit of background on our company. payleven has been founded in March 2012, so a bit more than 1.5 years ago. We're now live in 9 markets, of which 8 are in the European Union and 1 is Brazil in South America. We are a regulated financial entity, so we are a payment institution as part of the regulation of the FCA in London. Actually have been live now, so we started in March, but we've been live now in the first market sort of since about a year ago in August 2012. And as said, are offering an alternative way of using card acceptance. So let me briefly do a demo and actually take you through kind of how our product looks and what it does to give you a better understanding of what we do. Could we switch to the demo? It's plugged in, so. No? Okay, well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't know why. It's plugged in the cable, so. Worked this morning. So. Okay, then demo does not work, it seems. Then let's go back to the presentation. Basically,
the one before was working.
Yeah, I know this. We can plug it out or plug it in again. I don't know if that changes anything, but it recognizes the screen. Yeah.
C'est bon, that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay.
Here we go.
Main screen over.
Sure. Okay, so so sorry for that, for the inconvenience here, but let's assume you are a small and medium-sized enterprise. You registered with us. You're fully on board. You have an app that you download. It works on iOS and on Android. You have your account, and if you log in, this is basically what you see. So it's your home screen. What you can do is, let's just say I walk in. I'm a consumer. I walk into a store of a merchant, and I want to buy something. What the merchant can do is he can go to his stored items where he can select, for example, let's say brownie, and sell me a brownie for €1.26. What I then do is I have a separate device, which is our card reader, which connects to the smartphone or tablet via Bluetooth. So if I initiate the payment, I can choose whether I want to pay by cash or by card. So let's say we go for a card payment. What happens is that the device connects to the Bluetooth connected chip and pin reader, where I'm now, you can't see it, but it's prompted to say insert your card. So actually I, as a merchant, hand over the device to the end consumer. The end consumer inserts the card just as you know it from a traditional terminal that you have here in the hotel or anywhere else in commerce. I enter my PIN just as you know it, press the green button, then after a quick authorization it says OK, and the payment is done. Of course, after some time, the payment gets authorized, then we come to the final screen where actually I have 2 options. Either I can print the receipt, so there are a variety of Bluetooth printers that are integrated, so I could print the receipt just as you know it, or I can send it to you as an end customer via email, or I can also just say we skip the payment, and then I'm done and I can do the next transaction. Of course, I have all sorts of other functionality in here, like I can see the history of the payments, analyze them. There's an analytics tool to it in the back end. So when you log in on the web to your customer account, you can see a lot of the data. You can download all the transactions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But sort of that's at the core what we do. It's card acceptance via smartphone and tablet. And we offer that to a merchant base that is small and medium-sized enterprises. So it's typically the people who do not offer card acceptance today, versus, of course, the large retail chains who always have card acceptance everywhere you go, more or less. The reason why they actually do not offer card acceptance today is simply because there's three main reasons why they don't do so. The first one, it's relatively inconvenient to actually get a card acceptance contract online, if you like, today. If you want to, as a small and medium-sized enterprise, if you want to get a card acceptance contract, you need to fill in a lot of paperwork, actually physically paperwork. You need to submit sometimes even certified documents on your business, like when it was incorporated, any sort of certified copy of your passport as the owner, etc., etc. And it takes up to 4 to 6 weeks until the device is actually in your store, fully set up, and you are kind of onboarded, if you like, and you've gone through their onboarding and risk assessment sort of process. So a lot of paperwork, a lot of back and forth, and a long time until you're actually there. Secondly, it's actually fairly uneconomical for you in some sense that as a small merchant, you need to commit when you sign up. You need to commit typically to, depending on the country, to 2 or 5 years of contract duration. And you commit to paying a certain monthly fee. So if you have your small cafe that you just opened, you don't want to commit yourself to actually paying for 3 years, 30 euros or 40 euros per month. As much as that, typically the pricing structures are very opaque. So what you see is that the pricing list of a traditional card acquirer who offers you a terminal as a merchant, the pricing list is font size 9, has 35 items, and you basically don't really know what you sign up for. So, and then lastly, the devices you get are bulky and more or less non-mobile because they're all plugged with a LAN cable to a wall, and so they're non-mobile. So what have we changed about this? First, on the registration, how we work is that the merchants actually go online and they register on our website. We have an automated risk assessment and underwriting process that allows you to, within a couple of minutes, have an answer whether you can process payments or not. If that takes place, you can take payments on the same day. In terms of distribution, it means, for example, you can buy our device, the chip and pin reader, at Apple stores in Europe. That means you can walk into an Apple store in the morning, you buy the device, you go home, or actually with your iPad outside of the store, you register, and you're immediately live to take card payments. Coming from 6 weeks to being live with a bulky, ugly device. Secondly, it's 100% mobile. With your smartphone and tablet, you can walk anywhere where you have decent data connection. It doesn't have to be Wi-Fi, it can be like normal 3G or GPRS connection, that's sufficient. And you can take card payments, so especially for mobile use cases. So think about also other cases than the ones you know. Think about sort of the tradesman segment, the plumber, the electrician that comes to your house fixing stuff. You can do that by card payments now. Instead of course, in the retail segment, it's also relevant, but it also opens up new opportunities for card acceptance. So that's the mobility part. And then the last thing is that our pricing is pay-as-you-go. So there's no contract duration, there's no minimum revenue, no fixed fees, nothing like that. And it's a very easy pricing. It's one pricing for all cards, for all transactions, irrespective of the size of it. So in that sense, it's easy to understand, easy to set up, very transparent pricing, and 100% mobile. So that's kind of what we offer today. Could we go back to the presentation, please? However, our view is that, if you like, our view of the small and medium-sized enterprise world is that that's not the end of it, in the sense that if I run my own business, I'm everything. I'm in charge of finance, of marketing, of operations, of logistics, depending on the business type I have. Because our customers are one-man bands type of companies, or with a couple of employees. It's not a large corporation where you have different functional departments and people taking responsibility for different angles of the business. So actually, we believe in the fact that the small and medium-sized enterprise has many issues to tackle, and it's typically one guy who has to take care of it. And our view is wherever we can help them with technology to become better at running their business, that's where we want to be. So our aim is to be the solution provider for small and medium-sized enterprises that goes beyond payment. So for us, payment, if you like, is the first step to actually get to where we want to be, which is a service provider for small and medium-sized enterprise. If you kind of look at sort of what the consumer, if you actually want to get there, you need to take into consideration all parties involved, right? So that's the merchant, who has all sorts of problems about customer acquisition, retention, accounting, logistics, as I mentioned. And of course, there's also the end consumer who has some sort of desire. Typically, it's around having a better user experience, In store, it's about getting discounts, getting promotional deals, having an advantage over other people, as well as also, of course, any sort of transparency for yourself and tracking where your money goes. So, I mean, there's a broad sort of system of problems that both, or interests that both serve. And to give you a bit more of a concrete example where we as a company want to go, and that's sort of where I come to how we also, I believe, change commerce is working, is by using mobile technology to enable small and medium-sized companies. And to give you one more concrete example beyond payment where we interact or where we play a role in commerce to do so, is by looking at loyalty. If you actually look at the loyalty landscape, or loyalty as a business concept, so to speak, I would argue it's proven in multiple markets, in multiple situations to be worthwhile for companies to actually offer loyalty schemes. Typically, it's two main reasons. The one is data analytics, about learning about your customer and then feeding that back into your category management. And the second is, of course, to create, again, a financial incentive for your end customer to return to your store, but also to kind of tie your end customer closer to you as a brand or as a retailer. Of course, for our merchant base, the analytics is less important than actually tying sort of the person to you. But as a matter of fact, loyalty has proven by research that it improves the bottom line of companies. The question or the problem is with loyalty that if you look at the loyalty landscape, at least sort of in Europe and also North America, it's very much a big boys play. So if you look at the loyalty schemes that are out there, they have hundreds of members and not even thousands of members. If you compare that to the fact that in Europe on its own you have more than 20 million small and medium-sized enterprises, it's actually a very low number. Or if you compare more concretely, in Germany there are about 3.5 million companies, but the biggest loyalty scheme of Germany only has a couple of hundred members, and they are all large chains. So actually, if I'm even a local chain of, let's say, 10 hairdressers, 10 hairdresser saloons, or a local bakery chain having 10, 20 bakeries, whatever it might be, so even a bit smaller of the type of business that I was talking about 5 minutes ago, it's still the situation that those guys do not have a loyalty solution that helps them to actually solve the problem of customer retention and customer management. And that's where we think as an angle, again, to solve a problem for small and medium-sized enterprises. How do we do that in the first instance? And that's something that's already live from our side in the sort of closed beta test with a couple of merchants. It's actually the most easiest way of card acceptance, which is a stamp card approach, which is enabling the merchant to actually issue a digital version of a stamp card. I think we all are familiar with the concept, and that's the beauty of it. It's very easy to understand. And it's actually the merchant can define the currency. So he can say for 10 times X, you get Y, whatever that might be. Coffee, pair of jeans. I personally, we don't mind so much. We just hope that they're using it in the sense of creating more value for them. Because what can they do with it? Ultimately, of course, if the end consumer engages with it, he gets a certain amount of data about when certain people did purchases, and they also have the email addresses of those people. And that's where the loyalty is more a means to an end, because fundamentally you give a one-man band business the opportunity to have a database to tap on with people who have bought items in his shop / in shops of similar size and type in the surrounding area, and be able to target them via email. And that's something that I would say doesn't exist yet in the wider space. And I think it's clear that loyalty has proven to be a successful business model. And I think our job is to provide the infrastructure for them to actually do that and solve that problem that they have. And actually just last week, I was in a restaurant in Berlin, and they gave me an old school paper version of a stamp card. And I think that just proves that, I mean, and that's a restaurant that is on a decent size, so not a corner shop type of place, so something that you would call even a more professionally run business. But those guys are still working with old-fashioned paper-based stamp cards where they have no clue of what's outstanding, what has been submitted, and who's actually the person handing in that card. And so that's beyond the payment part, our sort of next step of how to engage with small and medium-sized enterprises and solving problems for them in day-to-day lives to make them become better businesses. And that's ultimately our goal, to help them to run the business more efficient and more effective. And I think mobility and the aspect of having computer power at your hand that hasn't been seen before is a key tool to actually make that happen. And with that, I'm done and open for questions. Thank you.